Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Alter Confusion Thursday Night Hangout.
It is Thursday, which means it is a time to pour one of the bourbons.
For some,
or
yes.
whatever your choice of beverage is, be it water, chocolate milk, bourbon, cranberry juice, whatever your
mixed all together.
Flavors. That's fine by me. You know, everybody has their own flavor. Some are more valid than others, but that's okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I am, of course, I'm your host, Charlie, and I'm joined once again by the prolific Connor himself, Zealeus. This is the Thursday Night Hangout. This is a show for you, by you, where you, ladies and gentlemen, give us a list of topics, and we try our damnedest to try to talk intelligently through said topics. So, without further ado, let's start right off the bat and say I apologize profusely for whatever the hell happened with my internet last week. It seemed to only occur on that Thursday, and I scoured the internet for monitoring scripts and different things I could do with my computer, and I set some stuff up, and I never had a connection issue while I was trying to monitor for said connection issue. So
it's like when you bring your car to the mechanic. You're like, my car makes a clicking noise, and then the mechanic never hears that sound at the shop.
Exactly.
It's like, but I swear, it really happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I showcased this video last time, and I do want to do it one more time because this was from MomoCon last year. Of course, MomoCon went virtual this year. Just happened this past weekend, so the past Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were MomoCon online. But Zealeus and I, this is something close to our hearts, so we're just going to give you a quick little snapshot of this quick little video, and then we'll get on to the regularly scheduled stuff. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is the opening to our panel, Video Games Changing for the Good. Go!
Video games changing for the good? Question mark.
Thank you. I love that. I really do.
It does bring back some very fantastic memories, if I may say so myself.
Well, I mean, the thing is that, when you get audience participation like that, that's kind of fun. That's extra fun.
Yeah, no, the people were really fun. That was, one of the best parts was the people's doing the people thing. It's much more fun when you're talking to a group than basically talking to yourself like a madman. Now, it might be a little bit mad, and that's okay.
Yes.
Or is it a sign of normalcy if you're mad?
Who determines?
It's probably up to each person's own method of sanity.
Then we're all screwed.
I would agree.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we talked about this last week, but I want to bring it up again. GenCon, that humongous convention up in Wisconsin, that's basically like the grandfather of them all when it comes to like card games, board games, pencil paper RPGs, all that stuff. If you want to see like the legendary stuff, you go to GenCon. GenCon, of course, should have happened between July 30th and August the 2nd, but it has been canceled. However, there is a silver lining here. They are going to be hosting GenCon On Live, a virtual convention featuring a slate of events and programming you can attend from the safety of your devices and in the comfort of your favorite quarantine sweatpants.
I thought sweatpants were normal wear nowadays.
Because you're in quarantine, yeah.
Or for me, it's actually
pajama
flannels.
pants.
I prefer flannels.
Whatever your choice is. You can check out GenCon online. It will happen the exact same dates as regular GenCon would have happened. It's going to be July 30th through August the 2nd. And let me see if there's any other information here real quick. Make sure that I don't lead you astray. Nope, that's all they've given right now. But if you want to get on the email list to get all the latest updates, all you got to do is go to gencon.com/online, and there's a button at the bottom that says sign up for email updates.
But then they require me to actually read my email, and that's just one big black hole of pain and suffering.
Some of my email boxes are like that.
Pretty much all
mine
are.
I keep forgetting about.
Not the only one that's not is work because I don't want to get fired for not checking email.
Ah, yes, work.
Well, some of us have to pay the bills.
Of course.
Some of us got to feed the tail.
Of course. And Zealeus is frozen again. This is interesting.
I don't seem frozen on my Hangout. I think it's only on Twitch for some reason.
Yep.
Oh, there I am. I'm back.
I flicked it on and off.
Okay.
That sounded wrong. Okay, anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, since we were in the on the discussion of conventions, let's go ahead and give some more bad news. Blizzard has finally thrown in the towel. BlizzCon has been canceled for this year. It would, of course, have happened. When was it? August, I think. Is that right? I went to BlizzCon once, and I got wrapped up in the whole thing, so I can't really remember all of it.
It's kind of funny. If you go to the BlizzCon website, like it doesn't actually have the dates it was like on the front page.
I want to say it was in August, but I could be wrong. I can't remember. Anyways, so BlizzCon, of course, they've canceled it. However, they are going to figure out something. The executive producer of BlizzCon has come out and said, we're talking about how we might be able to channel the BlizzCon spirit and connect with you in some way online, far less impacted by the state of health and safety protocols for mass in-person gatherings. We want to do this as soon as we could, but given that this is a newish territory and the different factors involved, it will most likely be sometime early next year. BlizzCon is also a stage for big esports events in Blizzard games each year, so we're also looking into alternatives for supporting some of the high-level competitions that would normally take place at the show. We'll tell you more about our plans as they develop, but in the meantime, we hope to see you exploring the Shadowlands, hanging out in a tavern, pushing the payload, do it, and wherever else in the Blizzard universes you may roam.
Yep. So, another large event bites the COVID bullet. Seems like didn't they say though that, what is it? PAX is happening though, right?
Still, yes.
Yep. So that's one still currently happening. Although the scuttlebutt is some of the conventions like that and Dragon Con are actually just kind of hoping that the authorities close it for the insurance clause.
Yep.
So that way they get a little bit more of that money that they would not otherwise get. So I don't know, man.
Yep. That's well, I mean, the thing is, okay, so when it comes to PAX, I understand. To be honest with you, I understand the hesitance on Dragon Con's side more than I do for PAX. The reason that I'm not surprised that Dragon Con hasn't canceled is they're tied into so many freaking hotels down there. To try to pull out has got to be a nightmare. Well,
it's also their only source of income for Dragon Con itself. Like, right. At least PAX, I mean, nobody wants to take a financial hit, but they still have the other PAXs. They still actually have Penny Arcade itself. Yep. So they have other revenues of income, where if Dragon Con, that's it for itself as a convention. Mm-hmm. So there's probably that financial concern aspect too, where it's like, well, crap, if we cancel this, how are we going to financially stay afloat, basically?
Right. And that, my friends, I do not know the answer to. So hopefully, we find, Dragon Con can figure something out, and
I mean, you are seeing more and more people venturing into the great wilderness that is four walls outside their own home.
I don't understand what that is. What is that?
It means that like you aren't locked inside with your family all day, and you actually go to another place of transactions where things happen with people other than people's with your own last name.
Quick question. Can you hear the dog?
Vaguely, only because you asked. Like, because you asked, I paid attention. I was like, oh yeah, that's a bark. But I wouldn't probably have honestly noticed if you hadn't said anything.
All right, let me close my door real quick. Zealeus, just sit there and be pretty.
I will be pretty. But it'd be kind of interesting though. Even the conventions, if they do happen, like a Dragon Con, PAX was canceled or not canceled. Sorry. What will the attendance be like? Because obviously, part of the financial income are the badges, and people coming there and buying stuff. So, what will that look like? And will celebrities and video game people still be willing to even come in the first place? My guess, I would kind of wonder if something like PAX. You can always send a low-level scrub in to kind of put up your game in a booth and life goes on. Versus Dragon Con, if you don't have the actual celebrities there, it's pretty hard to imitate celebrities. So I wonder if it could be a little bit of difference between the two in terms of the viability of the actual event itself.
I'd say that PAX once upon a time was more about the panels, and then there was the video game showcase, but I think it's kind of become like the new era E3 sort of, where the emphasis is now on playing these cool games. I don't know, like the freaking setups that they have at PAX are just enormously humongous, and I don't know if a skeleton crew would be able to pull off that type of setup and be able to successfully run a booth like that. And let's just be honest, touching the controller, it'd be a great time to invest some money into the Kinect.
Well, I imagine if they do have it, like let's just say the indie showcase, thinking of like MomoCon, they'll probably have, I would imagine, fairly strict sanitation policies in place.
Oh God, I hope so.
It's like, okay, if a person comes to your booth, sanitize the controllers after every person. Heck, I could see people bringing their own controllers.
Yeah.
And be like, can I just plug my own controller in instead? And I kind of, you kind of wonder some of those type of policies, is that not just going to be a COVID 2020 thing?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's kind of see some of the things. I mean, you look over at like, some of our Far East countries, and face masks aren't a novel concept to some countries. Like
Right.
Those are things that they already did that to start with due to, whatever reason. So you kind of wonder some of these protocols that, places are kind of instituting. Hell, maybe people actually wash their hands after using the bathroom now.
No. Let's not get silly.
So some of those basic kind of sanitation things, you kind of wonder if some of those will actually just kind of stick around more so than maybe before.
This America, damn it. We do what we want.
A real man uses their hands at all times, if you know what I mean.
All right. So, Zealeus, you made mention of the indie showcase, or the indie showcase that happens at MomoCon.
Yep.
And since MomoCon would have happened in person, I decided to go back through all the interviews that I had done at MomoCon and try to find out where it's like, kind of like looking back and go, where are they now?
Interesting. Yeah.
So let's see here.
And what did you find, good sir? There's
definitely some games out there that let's just go back to last year, since that's probably going to be freshest on people's minds. There's a game called Astoria Legends. It's got a beta demo out right now. Eagle Island came out. Round Guard came out. Looking for Heals came out. Tech Support Era Unknown came out. Sinker 2 came out. Parallel, I think, is still in development.
What's it called?
Parallel, the game. It kind of looked like Kingdoms of Amalur, which was that ill-fated game from Studio 38, Kurt Schilling's studio.
Parallel, the game. It's an alpha, apparently.
And then Tiny
You
Kingdom.
can actually download the alpha.
Yeah.
Parallel is an adventure RPG that follows the journey of a young time traveler stuck in time. Blah, 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 blah.
Yep. And then there's a game called Tiny Kingdoms, which I'm pretty sure just shriveled up and died right after MomoCon. And then there's the Pixel Puzzle Makeout League, which is a freaking mouthful, and they are aiming for a summer 2020 release.
The Tiny Kingdoms was from Georgia Tech, apparently.
Yes.
Wait.
Yes, they are. But if you want to look back to, there was one that was a little bit okay, so there's a game out there when I did an interview for a game called Ribbiting Saga, Ribbit, like a frog, Ribbiting Saga, MomoCon 2018. It's in development as of December 2019, but I can't find anything past that date. But I'm actually kind of surprised and impressed. The vast majority of these games that the developers showed up for, that's
a YouTube video to Tiny Kingdoms.
The vast majority of the games that were shown at MomoCon are either still a work in progress or have already been released.
So, small fact, if you Google Tiny Kingdoms game, the AlteredConfusion interview with them is actually the third hit.
Heck yeah, it is. No, but like if you look back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I should have counted this before. 6, 3, 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Out of 36, if I'm counting it right, 36, there are only 2, maybe 3 canceled. That's impressive.
I would say it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, that's actually better than industry standards.
I mean, and you figure, if you take Tiny Kingdoms, I would kind of put that as an outlier because that's basically, it looks like it's a Georgia Tech project. So I know that it's not, they created it, but it's not like a regular game developer.
Yeah. If you knock that one out, then there's really 3 that.
But so it's kind of interesting. So I've been looking at Parallel the game, and it's like there's not really a lot of information about the game itself, and the installer is actually from like some random person's Google Drive.
It's Sterling. It's the lead artists.
I mean, I'm guessing it's somebody there. It's just I don't know if I've ever actually seen a game installer come from Google Drive.
Yeah, man. Well, it's an alpha build, so
true.
Oh, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. That there's actually 4. Yeah, 4 that are canceled. Well, one of them was reimagined, but anyways. So it's just it's actually very interesting, and I'm very happy to see that the vast majority of the games that we got to see and I got to interview the developers or someone on that team have actually made it all the way through, even if it was, let's see here. This one was, I'm trying to figure out here, 16. Yeah, most of them came out. There we go. One that was in 2018 got released in 2020. So 2 years seems to be about the norm within 2 years of MomoCon. So congratulations to all those developers out there. Phenomenal job.
Indeed, sir.
All right, now let's talk about some other craziness.
There's more craziness?
Of course there's more craziness. And that craziness starts with Crucible.
Crucible?
Yes. So Crucible is the game by Amazon. Well, it's published by Amazon Studios, the Amazon Gaming Studios. It's a first-person shooter, kind of like a hybrid between how do I describe it?
I thought it was like a hybrid between, well, now I'm kind of talking about Valorant, but basically like Overwatch, and it seems like everything's a variant between Overwatch and Call of Duty.
Right, but the difference for Crucible is that there's an emphasis on PvE, player versus environment. For those out there who don't know what PvE means, it's basically your character, I think, has like 5 or 6 possible level ups, and when you hit, you basically have to collect these like XP orbs, and when you collect enough of them, then you level up. Now the cool thing is that before the match begins, you could kind of customize the level up tree just a little bit. There's going to be 1 to 3 different choices for every single level up. So if you just want, instead of like level 2, I think it's like a faster reload or more damage, or maybe an extended magazine, something like that. So you can set that up for you, so that it happens in game. I've played a couple times. I played 2 different game modes. And I have to, my team actually won the last time I played. It wasn't the first mode I played was something called Hive mode, where basically you and your team are waiting for this humongous thing in the middle of the arena to spawn, and then you have to basically blow it up to reveal the Hive heart. You collect, I think it's 3 of them, and your team wins. The one I played recently was more of a, oh crap, now I can't remember what the game mode is. Basically, you've got several points on the board. The more points you have, the faster you accumulate a score, and you're trying to hit a certain number.
Mm-hmm.
And we won.
Yeah. Now, is that the PvE element that you guys won? Or is this PvP that you're playing?
No, it's still PvP, but there's always a PvE element to it. The leveling up mechanism is PvE.
Okay.
PvP is you're just trying to call the herd.
Gotcha.
But the one thing that I found interesting was that Crucible allows for a gamepad,
but
not really. You can't actually
confused.
do anything with the gamepad except for a couple of menu options.
What?
Yeah.
That makes... So you could use the gamepad, like you can't even map keys to it if you wanted to?
No. Like literally, I plugged in, just for shits and giggles, I had my gamepad plugged in, and I was able to navigate part of a menu to get into the game. But then I was asked to choose the drop point. I couldn't do it with my controller. I couldn't customize my level up tree with the controller. And then when I actually got into the game, I couldn't actually move with the controller.
That seems rather unfortunate.
Indeed. Now,
is it possible it's one of those games where, like, if you don't have the controller on to start with, like, it doesn't know what to do and thinks you're still keyboard and mouse only? Like you have to change it to be like, I really want to use the controller, damn it.
Zealeus, this is 2020. If the game can immediately pick up a generic gamepad as soon as it gets plugged in, something's wrong. Anyways,
that's fair.
So this game has basically been out for a week, and there's already happening left and right.
Oh no.
Many people, or some people out there, might remember a game called Battleborn. Technically, it's still out there. However, they are completely shelving it, I think, January 2021. The in-game store has been completely discontinued, but you could basically ride that bad boy into the sunset. A lot of people are already comparing Crucible to Battleborn, and it's only been a week. Now, why would they do that, one might ask? And the answer to that, sir, is something that I don't know. I'm sure lots of people know about, but there's something called Steam charts. Steam charts basically, charts like how many players at launch, and then see what the peak number of players are playing the game and whatnot, right?
Yep. So
at launch, which was, I think, last Wednesday, I want to say, or something close to that, there was 10,600 players at launch. And the high for yesterday was 4,400.
Okay.
So currently, from as it stood yesterday, it was the 188th most played game on Steam. Now, I'm very interested. Let me see if I can pull up...
188th game. That's a big thing.
Let's see here. they're now looking at. It's now dropped to 2,328 players currently playing. Yeah. Yowzas. I'm going to be totally honest with you. It's an interesting game. And they're releasing more stuff as time goes on, but I would kind of hope that you would have polished everything so you're not introducing new modes a week in.
Well, the strange thing is like it's not even being advertised as like a beta game. Like
it's not a beta.
That's what's strange. I think if it was like advertised, like, because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like it's a beta FPS, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But from everything I've read and what you've said about it and just everything I've seen, is the game's still in beta at this point.
Right.
It should probably be treated as such instead of releasing basically what is being advertised as the gold edition, even though it's obviously not. So that's what's strange to me about the release of the game is that basically came out of nowhere. It's like, surprise! And then it's basically a beta game. And I know that's one of the things in the past, you've harped on is the early access with, at least in that case, the game's designated as early access. So there's some kind of designation of like, hey, the game's not complete. We just need your money. Whereas in this game, Crucible's been released basically as a released finished game.
Yep.
And you always kind of worry when a game is released, just here you go, it's a finished game, not beta or alpha or anything. Gamers have a very short attention span. They're going to very quickly move on from, this shiny gem to the next shiny gem to the next shiny gem. So, within a couple of weeks, if this game doesn't kind of pick up any steam, there's always a good chance that it's just going to basically go by the wayside.
And to be honest with you, I would not be surprised. Now, of course, they are Amazon Game Studios. They have like a couple games. They got Crucible, of course, and there's another one that has a lot of people interested in, of course, is the New World, which is the MMO. And it's you can only pre-order that right now. But to be honest with you, that one looks better just by, quickly looking at some of the media stuff.
Well, and that's been advertised.
Yeah.
That's been known. They have a full-fledged beta going on right now.
Yeah.
I actually signed up for it. I didn't get a key. Oh, no. But it's so you would expect a little bit of a different level of development there for that game versus, I mean, Crucible almost sounds like it's a game where it's like, oh, first-person shooters and MOBAs, those are all the rage, man. Let's jump in the bandwagon.
Well,
it's really kind of what it sounds like.
Well, if you remember, basically Crucible was the culmination of Amazon. Let's see here. I guess, for lack of a better term, stalking Twitch viewers and asking what they liked and didn't like about games like Overwatch and whatnot.
Yeah.
And they tried to basically cram all that into a game and be like, ta-da, this is the perfect thing. Now, the interesting thing is, and I'm going to pull this up real quick. First of all, the game is being published by Amazon.
Yep.
All right. You would think that an Amazon-owned property, such as Twitch, would have a lot of viewers for said game. But it appears... Let me see if I can find it again, because I had it just a second ago. Crucible. That there are 579 viewers currently watching all Crucible streams.
I honestly don't know if that's a good or bad thing in the context of Twitch.
That is very bad.
Okay.
If you for comparison, let's say Valorant, okay?
Sure.
Let me pull up Valorant for you real quick.
Especially, I mean, if the numbers are bad for a video game in general and the game just came out, that's when you want your numbers to be high. I mean, you look at the trajectory of basically every video game, and that's why MMOs coming out with expansions. Is because over the lifespan of a release, you're just going to lose gamers.
So currently, remember, Valorant is still in closed beta until beginning of June. Valorant has 3,200 current active viewers right now.
It's a big difference.
And then if you want to take it a step up, in comparison to, a very well-established franchise, i.e. League of Legends,
Ooh.
that actually has 150,000 active viewers right now.
Good gosh. I didn't realize there's that many active viewers, honestly, on Twitch.
It's insane. It is insane.
Ooh, 36,000 on Minecraft Dungeons.
Yeah, buddy. I think it just came out, too.
This week. What the hell is Man Eater? I've never heard of that game.
I don't know, but I'd be very cautious.
It actually looks like a game for Jesse. I see a giant shark trying to eat a surfer.
Awesome.
It sounds like a game for him, I'm just saying.
Interesting. So anyways, to be honest with you, as soon as I started playing Crucible, I could kind of see that it falls into the category of, if you give it a chance, it's probably pretty good, but it's not something that immediately grabs a hold of you. So,
I mean, the concept makes sense. I mean, think about it. MOBAs are super popular. FPS is super popular. Combine the two, it seems like it should work, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, you actually have to have a good game beneath it should work.
Yeah.
Especially because there's a lot of FPSs to choose from. And MOBAs for that matter. So if you don't do either one well, and it's trying to basically two genres, I mean, genre matchups can definitely work, but if you're not doing either one well, then you're going to lose the gamers from that genre, and the other games from the original genre are going to be like, well, this is dumb anyways.
Right.
So it sounds like they just probably maybe released it a little bit too early.
Well, too early or too late, to be honest with you, because the thing is, when it comes to movies and games and all that stuff, there are certain things that you never want to release your product around. And that's if some big name comes out, i.e. Valorant in this case. Everyone is going crazy over Valorant, and it's still in closed beta, so, and, it keeps picking up steam. They're stealing Overwatch players from the professional league, which I find very interesting. Also, side note, I don't know if I actually talked about this, but the entire Vancouver team was replaced by their...
Yeah, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they were fired / released / who
Well, they were all, I think, from Asia.
Yeah, and it's just the logistics of COVID and everything else just kind of... So another game in the charts that I actually started playing yesterday was Phantasy Star Online 2. That's actually, it's a MOBA. It's an action RPG, not MOBA, MMO. And it's actually been out since 2012.
Yep.
But it's one of those where it's released over in Asia first, and eventually, given enough time, made it over to westernized version eventually. So I started playing yesterday, and I have no idea what the hell is going on in the game right now.
Isn't that usually the case, though?
Yeah, when you jump into an MMO that's been in existence for 8 years, yeah, that's... if you jump into, when I jumped into, Final Fantasy 14 or Rift, that's when the games first came out.
Right.
So it was a very easy learning curve. And plus, they were pretty straightforward tab target MMOs anyways. But versus now you jump into a game like PSO2 that's been out for many, many, many years. And it's like, oh, interesting. There's a lot of videos and tutorials and crap to learn. And one of those games where you have skill trees where if you do it wrong from the very beginning, you basically hose your entire character. So
old school.
In some regards, yeah. So don't screw it up.
Yeah. I have not been playing any MMOs on my Switch. I'm assuming you're playing on your Switch?
It's actually not out on the Switch yet. It's on currently Xbox One, came out 12 days ago. And then 2 days ago was PSO2. And it is coming to PS4 and Switch. The interesting thing is, so it came with the Xbox One and the PC, and they both use your Microsoft account. So if you had the Xbox One and the PS in your PlayStation, not PlayStation, your PC,
Xbox. Yeah, PC.
Same account, right? So you can play between the two. What's going to be interesting to me is once it is coming out on the PS4 and the Switch. When it does come out on the PS4 and the Switch,
Cross-platform.
Trying to find actual information about the westernized release has actually been really annoying, because it's like it's being released, but we don't actually know when. And as far as not even just cross-platform, but will your accounts transfer to other platforms because it's a Microsoft account? Because in order to get it, you have to sign into the Microsoft. It's actually the only app I have through the Microsoft Store, because you have to use the Microsoft Store to get it. So like, if you get it on the Switch eventually, is it even going to know that account exists? That's what's going to be interesting to me to see.
Right.
It kind of reminds me actually a little bit of, in a weird way, Monster Hunter Online. Because you kind of go through like these little dungeons and you basically jump in a bunch of other characters and kill a bunch of little enemies. And then you go to the final fight, which is just you alone, unless you came in a pre-made party. But now you're by yourself and you're basically facing a big monster that you have to fight on your own. And it's a little bit similar, Monster Hunter Online and games like that, where you have to kind of like, figure out, okay, what is the boss's pattern of attack, and kind of work around that with your character. Like you just can't go in as a melee character, just I will, stab you to death, you'll die. So far that's what I've only played, probably about 5 hours of it, but that's kind of what I've experienced so far. 5 hours, it's already been up for 2 days. I'm slacking.
Terrible.
I know, it's terrible. So I don't know, it's an interesting game. I'll continue to play it and check it out. So far I'm enjoying it, so we'll see.
So speaking of different consoles, there is a rumor. Now, this is a rumor, but there are whispers that SEGA might be getting back into the game console.
Ooh.
And of course, everyone's going, no, please don't. Please don't. Now, they've already been asked if there's a chance that the Dreamcast 2 could be coming out, and they're like, no, there's no Dreamcast 2. However, June the 3rd is Sega's 60th anniversary. And apparently they've said that there is going to be a huge story that's going to be released on June the 4th.
It feels like it would be, you already have two pretty entrenched next-gen consoles that are always coming out with Sony and Microsoft's.
Yep.
You really can't go wrong with either console. And then you have Nintendo doing their thing. And obviously what Nintendo's doing is working. Is there really a place in today's generation of consoles for a fourth console with the Sega?
I don't know.
Because it almost feels like you have to find a niche somewhere. Like, I don't know how they're going to compete, honestly, with Sony or Microsoft on the kind of next-gen consoles, with their relationships with AMD for the, combination of CPUs and graphics processors and just their years of experience, quite frankly, to be able to, eke every last little bit. You also have developers, AAA developers, because in large part, that's what drives people to video game consoles, is those big AAA titles. They're spending tens of millions of dollars on consoles that they spend years kind of really figuring out, okay, how can we maximize our game on the consoles? How willing are they going to be to devote all those resources to a new console that has no history in our current memory? I mean, you look at VR, and the question is like, when is VR really going to break through? And I think in large part it's because other than really, I know Valve relieved Half-Life on, their version of Half-Life on it, but you don't have the AAA publishers really diving into VR and really spending all that money in an unknown commodity. So are they going to want to spend all that development money on a Sega console if that ever happens? When they already have all that money to really send on the, what's now really going to be the PS5, the Xbox One Series X, I hate your name, and then the PC.
So one of the reasons why people are thinking that there's some sort of like Sega console coming out is that earlier this year, Sega revealed a new character related to their brand, which,
Okay, what about this out of left field?
Yeah.
What about because people, I think one thing we have learned is people love, I'm not even talking like built-in backwards compatibility of it can play every game, but people obviously love the idea of nostalgia of the consoles, through some kind of video game, some e-store, that's what Nintendo calls theirs, the e-store platform, whatever that console's platform is, to be able to play previous generation games. And with Final Fantasy VII is the upgraded graphics. What about a Sega console, not for new games, where the sole purpose of it is take all the old Sega games and update the graphics to basically 2020?
No. No. Okay, the vast majority of those games are third-party publishers or third-party developers. If something like that were happening, you would know, because the developers wouldn't be able to keep their mouths shut, because there are some phenomenal titles out there. A Phantasy Star Online was huge on I think it was the Dreamcast. There's no way.
Fair enough.
If they were to come out with a console, the thing is, I understand where you're coming from, where, developers might be a little bit hesitant on jumping to a known console, but at the same time, it's not like they're adding in a new peripheral, which is what the VR is. It's an optional peripheral for your device. It's like the Kinect. It's like the PlayStation bouncy ball sticks, whatever the hell the damn thing's called.
Bungy.
If they were to actually make it really boils down to the architecture of the system. If it's closely related to either the Xbox or the PlayStation, which I have a funny feeling that if it was a new console, it'd probably be closer to PlayStation than Xbox. But that would be the only thing. But also, the brand loyalty for Sega disappeared. In most part, it disappeared. Now, there's several super duper fanboy pockets around the world that are still making games for the Dreamcast. But hello, Gunny Chief. But that being said, Sega would have to have something mind-blowing that would pull everyone's attention away from PlayStation, or Sony and Microsoft. And
when you kind of and Nintendo obviously hit it out of the park with the concept of the Switch being a handheld.
Yep.
So that kind of, if Sega came out, I know I was very skeptical of the Switch actually when it first was announced.
Ditto.
Most people were, I think, to be fair. But, Sega came out and announced, it's also going to be a handheld device that could hook into your TV. Oh, my. Most people's reaction, I think ours included, be like,
but I've already got the Switch.
We already got the Switch. That does that. So what does what does your Sega system have that the Nintendo doesn't? So that's just where I'd be skeptical of a Sega console. I have a very hard time imagining it's going to be able to push as many pixels as the next Sony or PlayStation.
Sony is PlayStation.
I'd have Sony or Microsoft console. Thank you. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't push all those pixels, now you're down to the Nintendo route. And people are super loyal to Nintendo.
Yep.
You want brand loyalty? Nintendo's got that in spades. So you got
Nintendo's here at Sega has disappeared.
Yeah. And so you're going to have a really hard time peeling people from Nintendo to Sega if you kind of go down that point. I mean, almost, my first thought would almost have to be undercutting the consoles big time on price to draw people to them. But does Sega really have cash reserves to do that? I mean, a Sony or a Microsoft, they would if they had to, right? I mean, Microsoft, they don't have to worry about money. I mean, they do, but
I don't think they made any money off the original Xbox.
That's what I mean. Like, obviously, they're in it to make money, but they can afford to take some losses here and there if they need to, because it's Microsoft.
Right.
Same thing with Sony. But if you're Sega, that's all you got. You don't have anything else. So that's where, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. My skepticism is it's just another re-release of like, hey, look, it's another Sega console with now 200 games.
Yeah, I don't think they would be building
that's honestly what I'm expecting.
I don't know if they'd be building everything up that much for that type of thing, but you never know. We'll find out June the 4th. That's really what it boils down to.
I'm expecting a Sony with somehow improved graphics, or Sega with improved graphics.
So that's in a week.
I'm not saying how that's magically going to work, but that's my magic 8 ball, is some magical device that's going to play your old games with better graphics.
It's called any game that has an e-store, because Sega's basically sold their soul for all of their back catalog to appear on other consoles.
And now Sega's like, damn it, I wish we just kept that to ourselves instead of having to split that profit.
Yeah, whatever. All right, so...
when did you say the date for that was? Sorry?
June the 4th. So in 7 days. In a week, we'll find out.
So we'll know the next show.
Exactly. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I do want to do a couple quick shout-outs. That, of course, is for the friends of the show of Altered Confusion. First and foremost, there is an amazing organization called the Indie Cluster. Indie Cluster is run by a gentleman named Ron Jones. He basically does what Altered Confusion does in a different way. So Altered Confusion, of course, goes to conventions and tries to interview as many independent creators as possible. What Ron does is he basically gets floor space and then kind of cuts the cost with a bunch of different developers so that they can show off their stuff. Because I'm going to be honest with you, getting a booth at a convention is expensive as hell. So Ron tries to help as best he can. So definitely check out the indiecluster.com. The next one, of course, is the one and only Dr. Ryan from Hero Chiropractics. He is my chiropractor going on 3 years now.
20 years.
He specializes in trying to help. Well, I mean, one of the areas of expertise, of course, is to help those gamers who have long game sessions and might be having issues with their shoulders or their back or posture in general. Definitely check him out at herochiropractic.com. Now, of course, this one is just our favorite stomping ground. It is now open, Battle and Brew. They're still doing their geek trivia virtually, which is really interesting. I'm not exactly sure how that works. But that being said, Battle and Brew is a phenomenal place. Has an amazing menu both for food and for special drinks. And of course, they've got a bunch of computers set up. I'm not sure what the setup is there right now because of, the distancing thing, but it is definitely a place that Zealeus and I and many other friends frequent as much as possible.
Well, and they are adhering to strict social distancing guidelines and cleaning procedures.
There you go. One more little shout out real quick, and that, of course, is to Nerdburger Games. Nerdburger Games, founded by Craig Campbell, the amazing architect of so many games such as Capers, Mercs and Acquisitions, Die Laughing, and other games. Nerdburger Games, it's a different flavor of like pencil and paper RPG, but in a really, really fun way. It's the emphasis is on storytelling, and to be honest with you, I love every minute that I get to play a Nerdburger game, even if it does cause my character some weird ass bodily harm because I pushed the envelope just a wee too much.
I would agree. He's definitely got some good stuff.
Now, let's get on to the next story. All right, this one I've been kind of saving because this is a heavy hitter. We talked in a recent episode about Twitch advisory board, basically a non-Twitch employee advisory board that's going to, cultivate and refine the rules and regulations and guidelines for Twitch. And it appears that one of the members of said board has already gotten just downright attacked.
Oh, dear.
Harassed to the nth degree. The person's name is Steph Lauer. She's a rights activist and trans woman who on Twitch goes by Ferociously Steph.
Okay.
The first thing that she did that apparently caused, what she said was that she believes the use of the use of voice chat in video games creates an unfair environment, and that the only way to level playing field at the highest level of play is not to have voice chat. Now, the reason for that is, and she goes on further, the concept that voice chat requires people to reveal their linguistic profile, which can contain a lot of identity information. People can target you for harassment or judgment in game. When using your voice provides a competitive advantage, marginalized gamers are placed in a lose-lose situation. Now, having said that, there is a Reddit feed called Twitch Fails. And her name has basically lit up the scoreboard over there. There is a former Overwatch League player who basically said she is objectively and unequivocally stupid. There's also another streamer that says she should be unpartnered and kicked off the team for saying this. By the way, the red stream is live stream fails. Basically, the second gentleman said, I find it ironic that someone who was recently appointed to Twitch's council with a stated intent to promote equality and improve the platform is the one who is directly attacking specific groups. If the roles had been reversed here, there's no doubt in my mind that they would have been there would have been action taken by Twitch. I'm simply advocating for subordination to a single rule set by all on the platform, regardless of personal identities or agendas. This is how Twitch can remain great and not succumb to bias in either direction.
Well, I think it fundamentally comes down to a question of what is, this goes beyond video games.
Yes.
But what is equality? And, it's a question of, it's almost like there's two different camps where equality, it's either basically putting everybody at the exact same level. So there's absolutely no differentiation between people, which is basically, it sounds like what she's advocating for.
Yep.
Or it gives everybody the equal opportunity to get to that exceptional level that we think everybody is capable of. And I think that's what most people are in favor of. And what I mean by that is, in this, let's just say this environment of voice chat, right?
Yep.
I think we can all acknowledge that there are asshats on voice chat who will be stupid. Nobody is going to argue with that. Do we make it socially acceptable for that place to be the asshats? I think that's the difference for myself. That's what equality means, is everybody has that equal opportunity to partake in that voice chat, make themselves better in the process, make their teams better in the process, without having to worry or having that fear of somebody other being a misogynistic jackass.
But that would, and I agree. To be honest with you, I could see the merit of both sides. There are definitely some games out there that benefit from not having a voice chat because there's no reason for it. But when you're talking about like squad, team-based strategy, voice chat's kind of important. Now, as you know, it's clear for anyone who's played video games, there is definitely a bias as soon as someone opens their mouth. It could be that someone has an effeminate voice, or maybe they are female, or perhaps they have a lisp or a slur or a heavy accent, or maybe they talk with a stutter or something. those, unfortunately, any of those things or even more stuff can cause harassment and cause many gamers very uncomfortable situations. The way that you, of course, fix that is you have a advisory board that actually has the power to enforce said rules. Because I mean, some of the, apparently, like some of the members of this board are like professors, like of criminology and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not, just your regular average streamer. I mean, there is a very wide selection of individuals on this panel. But at the end of the day, look, I want everyone, in my honest opinion, I want everyone to be able to experience online video game to the extent they want to experience it. If they want to get the full experience, and having the full experience means having a voice chat, then I want them to be able to do that without asshats ruining for them.
And I think my one other issue with her type of philosophy, because I know it definitely exists, it's not just her, it's a, thought in general, is it also basically puts your head underground. You're acting like you're no longer acting like the problem exists, because if you no longer actively hear of sexism or racism or any other isms, it's like, oh, look, we're not hearing any bad things, so it doesn't exist. And we all know that's not true.
True.
I think at some point, the only way to, defeat the isms is to just frankly meet it head on. And we say it's not okay, it's not acceptable, but if you're not even acknowledging in the first place and you just basically act like it's not even there by just muting it, you're not going to fix anything in the long run.
But then the big question, the thing is, and this is, this of course is the dangerous territory that the streaming platforms have. If you start, really enforcing some of these rules to try to clean everybody up, are you going to lose a lot of people? Because a lot of people want freedom of speech where they could say and do what they want. Of course, this of course then boils back to Blizzard's wonderful idea of Real ID, which
just look at the shitstorm it's caused with Twitter and Trump. I mean, politics aside, Twitter took a stand, whether or not you think it's right or wrong. And now, obviously, the person who it was aimed at, Trump in this case, is very unhappy. So it obviously creates, anytime a platform, be it a Twitch or Twitter or whatever, takes a stance, there's going to be a very vocal group who's not in favor of it. It's one of the reasons why you see, by and large, content providers like a YouTube, they tend not to really, how to phrase this right?
They don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah, they don't want to rock the boat, but they're also try to be neutral observers.
Yep.
Because then they can't be like, we favor one party. And it's also, frankly, for insurance and copyright. Because if they're not actively taking down certain type of content, then they can't be accused of favoring one type over another. So that's also the trying not to be too active about it kind of saves their bacon at the same time. Because as you saw with Twitter and Trump, as soon as you start proactively trying to do something, the other side of who, rightly or wrongly, you think you're silencing, are going to be like, censorship, oh my gosh. So
all
that's
they're saying is you need to fact check this. Okay.
Yeah, facts are overrated, man. Don't you know that? There are no such things as facts, actually. It's only a matter of opinion of your own perspective.
Anywho, look, to be honest with you, I wish that everyone could just freaking figure out, and this kind of boils down to, okay, so a couple things real quick. One, the voice chat thing, that's not actually Twitch. That's the game. So, it's not something that Twitch has any power over. One. Two, if you then of course, sure, the chat room. Yes, there definitely should be ways to mute or kick, ban users or something along those lines. And there are those type of tools, but there's definitely got to be, a restructure of the guidelines or maybe some of the rule policies. But at the end of the day, and this is what I always harp, the only time you should never be a dick to anyone, but in my honest opinion, if you are playing in a casual setting of a game, just kind of like a pickup game, do not be a dick, because everyone's just trying to have some fun, try to blow off some steam. Yes, is it sometimes frustrating because your teammate, that random guy signed to your team, has no idea what the hell they're doing? Yes, it's frustrating, but you live with it and you move on. If it's competitive, then I understand you being an asshat. Zealeus, you're muted.
Sorry. This always reminds me of the classic Penny Arcade comic. Basically, the concept is normal person plus anonymity, which can be, in this case, video games.
Yep.
Means you're, in Penny Arcade's words, a total fucktard.
Fuckwad.
But?
Fuckwad.
Oh, you're right. Fuckwad. I cannot read.
Actually, I have a T-shirt somewhere.
Which I think is, unfortunately, it's true, because you think about people in real life, right? It's, particularly people in your own team, you might call them out for being, do something correctly, but you're not going to be a total asshat to them. And maybe occasionally, but if you look at the, ratio of in real life asshattery versus basically video game asshattery, and it's a very stark difference between the two, unfortunately.
Yes.
And it's kind of disappointing. Because, I'm someone who's, philosophically very much in favor of anonymity and the ability to kind of be somebody other than your real self online. Mm-hmm. But it does absolutely have that side effect of people being dicks online.
Yep. Because they think that they can't be touched.
Yeah.
Anywho, I feel like there was another story that just came in, but I can't remember what. The final story. Before I get to it, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to, of course, do the AlteredConfusion rundown here. Ladies and gentlemen, AlteredConfusion has, of course, been around since 2007. This would be our 13th year. We have been basically, in some shape or form, we've been around for 13 years, comics, game reviews, interviews, video streaming, insert other stuff here. And we've all been doing it out of AlteredConfusion's wallet, which is my wallet. And
the great wallet of AlteredConfusion.
Yeah. I don't really... Yeah. I once made the mistake of trying to tally up exactly how much money I've spent on AlteredConfusion, and then I wanted to weep. It's not. Look, here's the thing. I don't regret the money I've spent on AlteredConfusion. It's just the sheer volume of running AlteredConfusion for 13 years, and the accumulated cost of the conventions and the electricity and hotel and gas and food and equipment, all that stuff. It's just insane. So, ladies and gentlemen, AlteredConfusion has something called Patreon. Patreon is basically a website that independent creators could set up a page for themselves, and it allows for you, amazing people, the audience, the friends, the lovers, and sometimes the haters, you can become a patron of AlteredConfusion, and it's a monthly donation. It could be anything from $1 up. I believe I have 2 tiers now in place. One is the dollar one, and I think that $5 a month is a different tier. I would love to have anyone and everyone who can be a patron. If you could just donate $1 a month, that makes a huge difference. If you decide that you would like to pledge something higher than $5 a month, by all means, I'm not going to stop you. However, reach out to me if you do that, if you decide to do that, and I'm going to make sure that you get your money's worth. Because I would feel really, really bad if you got basically the same stuff as, the person who spent $1. If you're donating $8, $10, $15 a month, I want you to have something special. I'm not exactly sure what that is. I've got a couple ideas rattling around my brain, but I'm not going to announce them now. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to help out Altered Confusion in a financial means, but you do not feel comfortable doing a monthly donation, there is a one-time donation. It is through our PayPal account. You can either go to our website, www.alteredconfusion.com, and there should be I believe it's a Donate Now button. A donate button on the left-hand side. Or if you are on Twitch, it's in the box below this video. There is a donate button, and then Zealeus just posted the Streamlabs Altered Confusion tip jar link, which of course is streamlabs.com/alteredconfusion/tip. Now, of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to help out Altered Confusion, but you do not want to do it in a financial sense, if you want to help out Altered Confusion at all, period.
At all.
The best thing you can do is follow us on Twitter, follow us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube. Of course, watch us every Thursday on Twitch or Twitch or Facebook. And of course, share our posts, tell your friends about this, and of course, keep up to date with our videos. Every single one of these videos, if they run successfully, will be posted onto YouTube, and then there will be an audio-only version that goes on to Podbean, which then goes either to Podbean or to iTunes podcast store. Now, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I know that there are some people out there who like to send Altered Confusion stuff. Some people like to feed my Funko Pop addiction, which I'm very thankful for. But for the love of all that is holy, if the next person who sends me a Funko Pop does not leave their name, I'm going to thank you, even though I don't know who you are, but you really need to put your name there.
Or else.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to send something physical to Altered Confusion, all you got to do is send it to 1551 Dunwoody Village Parkway. That's DUNWOODY Village Parkway. Number, this is super duper important. You've always got to put number 88276. That's the P.O. Box number. If you do not put that number there, it goes to the post office. It will just get returned to you within 2 to 5 business days. And then, of course, the city is Dunwoody, DUNWOODY, Georgia. Zip code is 30338.
There you go, sir.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the last story that I want to talk about is, thankfully, a fun-ish one.
Yay!
As many of you out there probably have noticed, I've been playing a lot of one game called Legends of Runeterra.
Okay.
Which I blame Zealeus for introducing to me.
Okay.
Especially since he kept going, Runeterra Legends. What's the damn name of the game?
I'm just going to make sure you don't forget.
All right, so Legends of Runeterra is a virtual collectible card game created by Riot Games, which, of course, are the masterminds behind Valorant and League of Legends. Legends of Runeterra basically utilizes some of the roster of League of Legends and makes it into a card game. Now, there are several different digital card games out there. Of course, there's Legends of Runeterra, there's Hearthstone, there's a Pokemon one out there, there's a Magic the Gathering one, there's the just relaunched Artifact one, which is the Valve collectible card game thing. And what is interesting to me, okay, first of all, I'm going to kind of make Zealeus and I sound really, really old, I think.
How old, sir?
We played Magic the Gathering 4th edition in school, physical cards.
I love my physical cards, sir.
And so, Zealeus and I have, we've built decks for a very long time. We've done Magic the Gathering. We've done Legends of the Five Rings. I've done Dominion, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Legend of the Five Rings. That was actually a fun game.
Yeah, Middle Earth, and a couple of other ones like that. I can't. Ascension is another one. There's a ton of deck building games out there. That being said, I do find it interesting, and I actually wrote an opinion piece on Altered Confusion about this. It's interesting that Legends of Runeterra.
Yep.
When you compare that to Pokemon, the trading card game, which I would think, okay, Pokemon's got a wider audience, right? Because it's gonna be a younger audience to people who've basically been growing up with Pokemon.
Yep.
You would think that'd be an easier game to pick up, but to be honest with you, viewing it from watching over a 7-year-old's shoulder, he immediately, like after a couple rounds of me playing Legends of Runeterra, he got the gist of it and has been able to play Legends of Runeterra. He's watched me play a couple games of Pokemon, and I'm not saying that he's illiterate, but he does have he's 7 years old. He does have issues reading lots of words and then trying to interpret that. And some of the Pokemon cards literally have like freaking novels on the damn things. And so, even for me, when I'm playing between the two, Pokemon is a much bigger investment, simply because the easiest way for you to play is just to memorize all the damn cards.
Yeah.
Like I see that picture. I know exactly what all that 37 lines of text are, versus Legends of Runeterra, which there are just like identifiers on the card that basically give you the gist of it. There's one for elusive, which makes you hard to block. There's one called Challenger, which allows you to grab an opponent. It's the icon, the standardized icon look and feel of the cards makes it super duper easy to pick up. Also, building a deck in Legends of Runeterra, pretty easy. Building a deck in Pokemon trading card game, dear Christ, holy crap. It's like you go in there, you're like, all right, here we go. I'm going to build this. And then you've got this damn indicator on the side that goes, well, it's not legal for this version. It's not legal for that version. It's not legal. I'm like, well, what makes it legal? And literally it's just like the best way I could tell you to find out what's legal is select a new deck and then say, pre-make the deck for this version. And then you just look through it to see what's in there that allows it to be, eligible for this version.
Makes sense.
But that be okay. So honestly, I'm saying, play Legends of Runeterra over Pokemon. That's just me though. But it did come. I did want to bring it up simply because, with Artifact coming back into the picture. As many people know, Artifact basically crashed and burned when it first came out. The level of difficulty and complexity apparently was just to the point that people are like, nah, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. So they, of course, they dropped it. Now they're bringing it back up, and it's 2.0. And what's interesting is, first of all, they are going about, they're approaching it a different way. They're basically building a deck. It's basically a draft your deck type of situation where you get to learn about the cards as you draft, which in my mind works amazingly well. I do that with Legends of Runeterra all the time. But the other thing is, it is currently in a closed beta. And for anyone who's interested in this, the first round of closed beta keys went out to individuals who actually played the first version of Artifact. There is a way to sign up to see if you could get one of those extra keys. But at this time, they are not opening it to, an open beta. But I'd be very interested to see, I'd be very interested to see what the game's like. I might just pick it up and take it for a whirl. However, I do want to point out that Artifact was a game in which you had to buy. It was not a free-to-play game. Now, of course, people hearing that there is the relaunching Artifact and they're going to have a closed beta. There's people who are out there going, okay, well, if I buy Artifact now, does that mean I immediately get into the closed beta? And the answer to that is no.
Huh. A lot of times you do.
Well,
at least now.
Right.
It wasn't always that way, but it seems like that's, and it kind of goes back to the whole early access concept, where it seems like a lot of times now if you do purchase the game ahead of time, you automatically get that beta.
Right.
It's just like a different expectation.
Right. And well, I mean, they basically went out. They said, look, we are prioritizing people who purchased the game before March 30th, 2020.
Okay.
So, I mean, of course, eventually everyone's going to get an invite or have the ability to play the game. But it'll be very interesting.
So speaking of games, I have a question for you. And I know we're going over, which usually I got to feed my cat, but this is something I was going to talk to you afterwards anyways.
All right.
So I saw on your review where you reviewed She Sees Red.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to look in the Switch store. Mm-hmm. And I see it's $10. I'm like, okay. But I start looking around. It's just kind of fascinating to me. Because on the Switch store, $9.99. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. You look then on the Apple store, $2.99 for buying in the iOS. And then Steam on right now, it's normally $7.99, but right now it's on sale for $2.39. So, or you could get it on the Humble Bundle for also the same price of $8. Yep. So it's just kind of fascinating to me that looking kind of on different consoles or devices, I mean, particularly iOS for the normal price of $3 versus the Switch of the normal price of $10. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like, I don't know. That's just interesting to me.
Yeah, the thing is that the Switch version had to be updated, from my understanding. I could be totally wrong, but from my understanding, it had to be updated because it's on different architecture, different hardware.
Sure.
So I'm sure that the iOS version, I don't know enough to pick it apart, but it was worth it for me, to be honest with you. It was a solid game, and I'm actually looking forward to. There's a couple other games that are FMVs on the Switch that I'm looking into. I think one's called the Changing Detective, and then there's I don't know. There's two out there that I've got my eye on.
Well, to be honest, I wonder if it's also you'll look at the Switch, mm-hmm. and basically if the game's under $10, you pretty much know it's crapware, to be honest. Versus you look at the iOS store, and you start getting above a couple of bucks on the App Store, and people just ignore it. And it's I always wonder if that's part of it. I mean, if they put that game at $10 on the App Store, there'd be reviews saying this game costs $10. Why would you ever buy it?
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. And I hear you. But it's one of those things where well, first of all, the developer is going to put their game on as many consoles as possible, but also they might have to raise the price simply because of the revenue sharing. I don't know how much Nintendo takes off the top. But that being said, speaking of the Nintendo store, I do find it interesting that there are some games that have been in the great deal section that literally just have a random percentage off every single week. I've never seen it at full price. It's always it's 20% this week. It's 30%. It's 40%. It's 15%. I'm just seriously, if you're never going to put the full retail value, just knock it down.
My favorite are the games that are obviously terrible that are $12.99 but 95% off.
There are a couple games that will surprise you. However, there was a game that I was like, oh, this seems interesting, and I played it, and it was soft-color porn. That's about as basic as I can go. But, yeah. It made me feel icky.
Well, it's a good thing you can do it from the comfort of your own bed.
Yeah. No. Mm. I played that game, and I was just... And I tried it a couple times. I'm just yeah, I feel dirty. It literally is someone wanted to show off their amazing art style of very revealing pictures, and they try to throw in a terrible match 3 game on top of it to make it a game, and it's just Not worth it.
Interesting.
Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we've gone over our usual scheduled ending, but I do want to thank everyone for tuning in to the show. Thankfully, we've had no interweb issues this time, so hopefully that what happened last week is just a fluke. It will never happen again.
This is crazy, man.
Yes, I know. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. For myself, Charlie, and Zealeus, it's been a pleasure giving you everything on our heads, our mouths, and of course, our hearts. Will be back next Thursday for another Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout.
Remember, kids, keep on gaming in the free world.
Amen to that, brother.